got a lot of boxes here today. Got some steel. What do you think we're gonna do with that? Well, give me a second, I'll show you. Yeah, don't worry about the string trimmer, that's not part of the project. Electrical tape's pretty cool for more than just electrical things. Got a save on this. Gonna use that again, I'm sure. A couple 10-foot sticks of a 1x1 square tube. Howdy do? Come look at what I got. You wouldn't have seen what I already put away. 2 10-foot sticks of 1x1 square tube, and then 2 12-foot sticks of 2x2 square tube. This is going to be this plus some of what we have over there. That's going to make our engine run stand. Not too shabby. Even got them to cut it down into, they come as a 24-foot stick, and I got them to cut it down into, you know, had them cut it in half. So it was a little bit more manageable for me, you know. Very long stick we have here. I'm hitting our oil dry. Yeah, more manageable, okay. Yeah. Oh, you feeling energized? Yeah, the way she goes. Well, you gotta have those days too. Well, howdy there, folks. Let's look back in the shed. So, if you saw what I was carrying in, yeah, we got a lot of steel raw material so that we can, like I said in episode 3, put a link to it right there if you missed it, build an engine run or engine test stand so that we can test out the 289 for Sally before we put it in the car. Not only test it, but break it in, because if I haven't already mentioned it in a previous video, it's got a flat tappet camshaft and hydraulic lifters to match, and the break-in process for that can be, for lack of a better term, stressful. And I just want to give us the best chance possible to be able to monitor the break-in process. And I feel that's going to be best done on a stand where I can see everything that's happening, listen to everything that's happening, visually see some gauges. I have a basic idea of how I want this to go together, but we're going to have to play with it a little bit. I got a couple different reference images. We really just need to get everything kind of laid out on the floor. I need to be able to start cutting things to length and fitting them together. We'll see what I can cobble together. So I got these massive casters to use with the engine run stand for a couple different reasons. First one would be because of the working load. I don't know if you can see that. 600-pound working load limit, so that's good. That's per caster, and you figure that, well, a Ford small block is, I'm guessing, without all the attachments on it, just including the block, the heads, intake manifold, probably, I don't know, 500 pounds or so. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. So each one of these pretty much supports one small block. Combine, of course, supporting a higher working load, and that gives us a little bit of versatility to be able to bolt on different size engines to that engine run stand in the future. So that's number one. Number two is, you see that I'm in front of, well, if you didn't know, now you do know, I am right in front of our engine crane, and I wanted to throw these side by side to see, okay, if did I get the right size wheel to enable this engine crane to slide underneath the working level or the bottom of our engine run or test stand, and most efficiently be able to place an engine on the stand or take it off. You notice that, yes, it would appear as though these legs with this wheel sat straight up. I'm already clearing the top of these engine crane legs. You also have to consider that I'm going to put a mounting plate on top of this, which I'll drill through and secure the mounting plate to the caster wheel via bolts and nuts, and then I'm going to weld the mounting plate to the engine run stand so that if we ever need to disconnect these wheels, we can do that easily. But in doing so, not only does that afford us accessibility to change out the wheels if needed, it also boosts us up a little bit. Then on top of that mounting plate, of course, it's being welded to our 2x2 square tube. That puts you even further up, allows just a little bit more clearance for engine crane leg to slide right underneath. I think that'll work for us just fine. I don't want to ruin the fun and show you everything up front, but I did want to let you in on the fact that I do have a lot of cool stuff that I'm going to add to the run stand. Essentials, right? I talked about wanting to be able to monitor what was going on. Well, to do that, you need to have some type of gauge cluster to be put in there. Got a whole kit. It's got big red buttons in there to start your engine with, and all the little switches and knobs that you could want or think of. And I'll tell you what, all in all, with all the, I'll link what I used in the description if anybody feels so inclined to want to try to build something like this themselves. Because maybe you get to the end of the video and you think, yeah, that ain't half bad. Maybe I'll give that a shot. We're in it for less than $400, I think. And the cheapest engine run stand that I could find on the internet, to include Amazon and all the major retailers, that would include, be able to hold at least a small block and have some baseline gauges. I don't know that they'd already be set up, but they are included. I think it's like $4.99. That is as of late April 2025. Of course, you got to factor in, what's your time worth and whatnot. You're also getting the experience of trying to build it yourself, and you get the assurance of knowing of what type of materials you are throwing into the strength of it. All that gives you more of a sense of security. You're learning more along the way too. And I also feel like it's a little bit more fun to do your own projects anyway. So why not? Okay, I know that I want it to be approximately 3 foot wide, but let's just double check. 28 inches. If we went 36 would give us more than enough room, and that would still be stable even if you wanted to throw a big block on there. From the back of the block to what would be like the end of the fan, I'm assuming, eyeball is a little less than 30 inch. And let's add a bell housing on there. Width of the bell housing, a little less than 6 inches. Let's call it 6. So we're at 36 now, so we're at 3 foot long at least. I mean, that was if everything's butted right up next to each other. Plus, you want to give yourself a little bit of room for a radiator. So, I don't know, what's average radiator width? Well, let's find one. We'll measure it. Here's an old one that we pulled off of the 64.5. So if I measure that at its widest, we're about 3.5. Okay. So that's 39 we're up to. Plus, say for testing purposes, you wanted to throw an electric fan on there just to help keep the thing cool while it's running, yeah? Well, what would our width be there? Let's also call that approximately 3 inches. So we're at about 42, plus I know I'm gonna need a mounting plate in the rear for our bell housing plate that I'm gonna make to attach to. That's gonna be at least, I don't know, another inch there. So we're at like 43. Plus you need to have a little bit of wiggle room. If you wanted to throw a big block on there, that'd be even longer. Give me a second, let me do a little bit of calculating here. What's the length of a big block Chevrolet? Okay, I'm seeing from what the folks are saying online, big block Chevy, approximately 30 inches or so. I would rather have the room and not need it than to need it and not have it, because I've made everything a little too short. So, is it such a bad idea for us to shoot for an even 50 inches long? What would that look like? This is 50. Yeah, and the way that I'm trying to set this up, you'll see it later. The engine itself can be positioned further to the front or further to the rear, because it'll be secured to the bottom rail of the stand on an adjustable mount, right? Well, nothing to it but to do it now, I guess. So, if we're gonna make this 50-inch long in total, and considering the way that I have this envisioned in my head, so I'll loosely explain that we're making, as far as the base goes, like a rectangle. And so each side, the longest side, will have to be 4 inches shorter in total than the overall length of what I want it to be. Each side, my longest sides, are going to be 46 inches. The 4 inches in length that would have been subtracted from the overall total is made up for by the shorter sides, because they are 2 inch by 2 inch lengths of the square tube. 2 inch by 2 inch makes a perfect square. So if my longest side is butted up against to it on both sides, there you go. That's how you get your total length. Is that making any sense? I don't know. Just watch me do it. Okay, let's measure out our 46. There's our 4-foot mark. 46. Now let's take this over to the chop saw and make it a little smaller. Just seemed like the right thing to do to get a fire extinguisher right next to us. You know, just in case. You never know. Let me see, I'm gonna find a straight edge here. Make this easier for me to see. Bet you my wife and daughter would appreciate it if I chose to wear some hearing protection, so I might as well. Always got my eye protection on. You gotta take care of yourself, folks. You don't, who will? Ooh. Don't ever stick your fingers underneath of a saw. Don't care if it's on or not. Be smart. I hope that I'm not just, re-explaining this for a whole bunch of people. For some of you, I'm sure I will be, but if you're familiar with carpentry, this won't be new to you. But if you're not familiar with any of this in general, building anything, this will be. But it's a good tip for you to have. Is say you're needing to measure out a portion of material. Okay, in this instance, we need it to be 46 inch long. Okay, way that you might do that is on steel. You use what's called soapstone, chalk, whatever you have. You could use Sharpie if you have it, whatever. On lumber, you'd be using a carpentry pencil, something to that effect. Also could use a Sharpie, whatever. What you will see in construction, I don't know what it's like in metal fabrication because I'm not familiar with it whatsoever. When you're making your measurement, you're going to, you see where I'm at here with my 46, you're going to make an apex. You're going to make where my line is for my 46, I'm going to go make a caret both ways, right? On both sides here. so that I have 2 points of reference. And then I can either use my tape measure, use another known straight edge, and just use another flat piece of steel because it makes it easier for me. Then, so you have a guide mark of sorts, line up your straight edge with the middle of the apex of both of those sets of markings you made. And then you have somewhere to cut. Nice. Double checking before I make my cut. That's where it's going to be. Come on. Like that. That'll do. That'll do. Let's put this back carefully. Okay, since we're in cutting mode, I want to measure what the size is of our caster plate so that I can cut us out and drill holes for the mounting plate. 3 15/16. Is that right? By 4 3/8. Let me write that down. You know, there's an easier way to do this too. Much easier way to do this. Hold on. Oh my gosh, this just might be the exact size that I want for all of these. Oh yeah. Oh, this is gonna be good. Yeah, this is the easy way to do it. Make sure you're square. Soapstone. How defined is that? Oh, that's perfect. Could have also just scribed something in there. Perfect. Okay. Let's do it this way. Heck yeah. Why is it cut in like at an angle like that? Word of advice, always wait until the blade on anything that you're working with is done spinning before you start to put those fingies somewhere, all right? Remember what you're working with. This will take your finger off and it will not care. Be smart. A little bit of self-preservation. Never hurt anybody. Halfway there. One more to go. Last one. A little toasty. Very nice. Okay, come here. Let's not touch the edge that you just cut. Now, let's take these over to the bench grinder and knock off the rough edges. Okie dokie, artichoke. Knock these edges off. So we've got all 4 of our mounting plates cut out, edges ground down so that they're mostly smooth, and then went through with our grinder with a flap disc and cleaned up both sides to clear off the rust and scale as much as we could anyway, or as much as we really needed to. Now we are going to fit one of our casters, the one that we've been using as a template, on top of all 4 of these mounting plates, and use either our chalk or our soapstone, I'm not sure which one I want to use yet, and mark out where we're going to be drilling our 4 holes so that we can figure out what size bolts we're going to need to put these together. And we're going to drill our holes, and we'll call it for today, because that's all we got time for. This is not an exact science, but I just want to try to make them all as close as I can. Okay. So I did some figuring on what size hardware that I want to use to secure this to the stand. And so that'll dictate what size hole I'm going to drill in our mounting plate. 3/8 diameter bolt, which would be a 9/16 bolt head. Fits through there nicely, takes up a good amount of space. If you put a flat washer on there to disperse the load force, that'd be the way to go. This is like 1 3/4 inches. If this is like 1/16 of an inch, this is about 1/4 inch. So we'd have 5/16 of material to get through. Then the thickness of our hex nut is 5/16, and you want this fully threaded on there. So we'd have 5/16 of material to get through, plus another 5/16 for this bolt head. It'd be at 10/16. 3/4 of an inch is 12/16. So how about we give ourselves a little bit more wiggle room and just get an inch long? How about that? 3/8 inch bolt, 1 inch long. Should be good to go. And we'll need a quantity of, there's 4 plates. We need 4 bolts per plate, so that'd be 16 total. Did you catch all that? All right, let's drill this. Actually, I know what I should do first. Okay, in the middle of all of our soapstone marks here, just put the nose of our transfer punch. Then give it a good whack. Perfect. Let's finish on the same piece of material coal. Well, that's fine. All right, now let's drill it. This is another one of those dual purpose situations because now the transfer punch has made a little indent in the top of the plate so that your drill bit, unless it was brad point, but I don't know why you'd have a brad point drill bit on a drill press. Regardless, it enables your drill press to have somewhere to sit. Huh? Pretty neat, huh? Okay, well, that's not gonna fit, so C-clamp it is, I guess. Tedious, but doable. Well, 4 down, 12 more to go. I'm not gonna make you watch the rest of it, so I'll get back with you when I'm done, but that should be a different day. So I will catch back up with you when we're ready to move forward to the next part. Howdy folks, another day back working on the engine run stand. When we left off, I was finishing drilling my 4 holes for each of our mounting plates for our casters, and I remember that I told you that I wasn't gonna force you to watch the rest of that process, but I did get smart and decide that, well, considering I don't have the right vise or lock over by the drill press itself to get this done most efficiently, maybe the best way to do this, and in general, since this isn't a super precise application, just ballpark close enough kind of thing, that using an actual drill and locking a piece of metal in the vise is really the way to go. So let's see. I'm thinking it will be. This is thick enough I really shouldn't have to worry too much about this bending. loud. Hold on here. No sense in killing my ears if I don't need to. Not too shabby, man. Okay, I'll do the rest of them. I really won't make you watch the rest of this, though. All right. Got all of our plates done here. And got our holes drilled. Everything's nice and clean, ground down. I don't claim every single one of those is a perfect square, but they'll do the job. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mock these to fit. Look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Trust me, I would have bought a larger pack of all these hex nuts, but this is what was available, so. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, either I got swindled, which is possible, or I ordered the wrong amount. Also very possible. Yeah. Alright, we're good. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 6. Okay, of course, these aren't going to get welded up in place, you know, like this. I really just put these together just to ensure that everything was, you know, going to fit loosely as it should. Makes me feel better knowing that everything is 90%, 95% copacetic before we continue forward. So, there you go. All together. What I'll do then is weld these up to the bottom of our frame where these casters will sit, and then of course, you know, when we're ready, we'll lift that frame up, put the casters underneath individually on all 4 corners, and bolt them all together, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so I got a rough idea of how I want this to look, and this is the general shape, right? Got your casters on all 4 corners. We're gonna have on either side, this side or that side, be your radiator and gauge stand that would be coming up from here. Then on the opposite side, towards the rear of the engine where the bell housing and whatnot would be, you'd have another kind of stand that comes up. We're going to have a bracket, a flat plate that will have holes drilled in it corresponding to the bell housing bolt pattern of the C4 transmission bell housing in this scenario, but you could drill more holes in that plate to fit different bell housings, engine, you know, combinations, whatever you need, of course. The whole purpose of that stand on that side with that plate would be to secure the bell housing in the rear of the engine to the stand. Gives it more support, right? So what I want to do now is have our caster just on its own. I'm going to set it here next to our longest side of the stand to get an idea of where I need to position the longest sides relevant to our shortest sides. Once I have an idea of where it's going to be exactly, I'll make sure we're square and then mark it, tack it up, continue around. Do the same thing on each side. I gotta remember to keep this little microphone on. What's the point in having it if you don't use it, Cole? I don't know. It's for show. Make me look cool. Ooh, ooh, ah. Ooh, ooh, ah. Kneeled right on a rock. Oh, oh, rock or bolt. Oh, it's not good either way. It doesn't feel good. Hurts real bad. Hurts real bad. I think it was the bolt. Oh, right into my knee. Where's my knee pad? What am I doing? Whew. I was getting a little nervous there, folks. Oh my goodness. I thought we lost the nailing pad. Can't have that. Let me get a speed square or a carpenter square. Framing square, I mean, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let's get our plate and hardware out of here for a second. Those are knee hazards. Can't have that. Speed square. 90-degree angle. Make sure I haven't moved here. Okay, 4 1/16 off from that side, 4 1/16 off from that side. I need to do the same thing for here. I have to just double check all this, of course, before I do anything, but might be about as close as I'm gonna get there. Good. All right, let's call it good. Let's do a little practice. Best chance of being able to weld something together is if you have two clean mating surfaces. So if you have the ability, you should always clean your material first. Okay, this is either gonna look really, really cool or it's gonna be goofy. I don't know if you can see it from where you're at. Yeah, I got you underneath of a, or behind a fixed shade. Well, it's not a fixed shade. It's a quick darkening shade from a weld helmet that fell out of a previous one. So we'll see if this does what I want it to do so that you can see what I'm seeing, how I see it, or not. We're about to find out, I guess. Sure. Everything flammable out of the way. Box matches, huh? Somebody's trying to burn the whole shop down. All right, let's see how these settings do. I don't know how well that's really penetrating into the 2x2. Let's go hotter. Hot, but not burn through. not blowing through. Let's see. See if we could still go a little bit hotter. See if that changes it at all. It's flowing a little better that way. That's good penetration. I might even call that blowing through. So let's dial back the heat a little bit, increase the wire speed. I mean, you can see, hope so anyway. Here, real quick. There, from left to right, you can see my 1, 2, and 3, and that's increasing in the voltage on the welder. I don't know what those inputs really mean. It really just differs between manufacturers, honestly, because they all kind of do it a little different. But you'll notice now, if you're looking from right to left, 1, 2, and 3. 3 is a little bit too hot. Maybe 2's close. Somewhere between 2 and 3, I think, is the sweet spot as far as what we want in penetration. Because you're going, you know, thinner gauge to a thicker. We're not even close to, you know, coming through on the 2x2. So let's dial back the voltage input a little bit and increase the wire speed, which I think on this model, in increasing the wire speed, the amperage will also increase. Oh yeah, it's looking good. We got good penetration into the square tube. Okay, I got just a little bit ahead of myself. Before I tack that frame together and then seal it, what I need is to create some sliders to go on my longest sides. I think this is like a 2 1/4 inch by 2 1/4 inch, 2 1/8. Okay, 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. That would slide over my 2x2 square tube. Do it so you can see this. See? Just so that this can slide back and forth on my rails. So I'm gonna have a portion of this on either side on my longest. Probably have it be like 2x2 because I'm gonna have some flat stock that'll come up and I'm welding to the top of it. What size flat stock? That'll do. For purposes of the demonstration, now you gotta keep in mind this is not all size that I want it to be, but 1x1 square tube. I'm gonna have it sit here. But imagine that you have 2 pieces of this flat stock now welded up on a portion of this, you know, 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 square tube. Here, large enough or spread out enough just so to accommodate a 1x1 square tube. You weld them up right here, and then drill a hole through it. Drill a hole through your square tube to secure it here. Then you have something that is secured that will slide back and forth on that rail, and you can tilt this back and forth so this is adjustable. That's the thought anyway. I think 4-inch sections would be fine. Let's do that. go clean these up real quick and drill a hole through the side of them so I can weld. I bought plain finish steel nuts for welding anyway, so I can weld a nut at the side of this. And we're just going to take excess piece of our all thread that we ordered in the mail, also a plain finish, and use that as I'll weld a handle to the outside of that and be able to use those as stops. Maybe this is just a Midwestern thing, but I don't know that I've really ever touched metal this clean. Besides, you know, the engine, right when it came out of being machined. It's kind of sad. So we're gonna drill 5/8 inch hole. One second. That's as good as it really needs to be. Gotta file that off. Take my word for it when I tell you that feels a whole lot better. Cool. Don't laugh at me. I'm not going to win any awards with my welds, but I'll make sure that they'll hold. And that's really, really what I care about. All right, one side. Throw our little piece on first here. See if I can prop that up. Howdy folks, Slick back here in the shed. We're going to continue on with our engine run stand build. I'm going to try to work through as much of it as I can today. It should be like the third day that period of time that I'm working on it. We will get as much done as we can. I want to be, if possible, like 75, 80% done by today, so that there's only one more period of time where I'm out here working on this thing before I am ready to put this engine on there to test run it. I think actually we'll put the 302 from the 1964.5, which is not original, by the way, onto the stand to kind of like, you know, test it out first time. Test the test stand, yeah. And then we'll get this one ready to get on there. Let's get started for today, see how much we get through. Square this up. Its biggest thing here is we just want it to be square. Tack that. That's as square as I'm gonna get it. Cool beans, cool beans. Okay. Same thing, let's measure down here. All right, I just thought of something. Maybe there is a best way to do this, but the way that I think I want to do it, because I've tried to, I noticed, yeah, I just welded shut both my, one of my long sides so that there's no way for me to just slide this a little bit larger square tube onto this 2x2. But I'm also thinking that when I tried to weld this up before, I had this larger piece sitting on there, and it created it made it so that the entire base was out of level, and made it difficult to try to figure out how to get everything even on the same plane to make it level. So maybe the best way for me to do this anyway is keep this as is, weld the whole base together, then cut a seam down this, put it onto the structure, and weld it together. I think that's what I'll try. I'm pretty impressed with that. Let's put it together. You may not be impressed with how it's looking so far, but I am. Okay, now that everything is square and together, I'm going to make a full pass on each of the 4 corners and then clean everything up. I'll let you see the finished product and we'll keep moving. What's up, Gramps? Did I bring the hammer? No. No, I didn't. Okay, so we're done welding all 4 corners of that base, and while I'm letting my equipment, as far as my clothing and whatnot, kind of dry out because I was getting a little soggy, let's cut the back side of our sliders here, and then we'll get those on the frame, weld those up, and then we'll weld the caster mounting plates to that frame, continue moving. Took me a minute. I finally got smart, got there, figured out how to best do it with the chop saw. Took my other piece that I need to cut, throw it next to it. Gives me enough material to push this tight. Okay, I'm gonna clean these up and put these on. Okay, moving right along. We got both sides of both pieces cut. Now I can put them on a long slide inside. I just need to weld these back together so that we can woo. So I'm gonna use a magnet here on the bottom. What I should do quick is put a slight beveled edge on both sides of these pieces here so that they bond together a little better. Okay, back. Nothing crazy, just there's a little something in there for that weld to root into. And some may even say that I didn't make enough of a bevel, and that is my lack of experience talking. That's okay. You gotta get it somehow. Gramps always says, failure's life's greatest teacher. Do the same thing the other side quick. I understand why people have welding benches now, because working off of the sawhorses is so much easier. Throwing a magnet onto the bottom to help me kind of place everything together. Then I'm going to throw my clamp on top. Flip it, tack those sides, run a pass on both sides, call it good. Let's throw it together. I'm not saying that's great, but I am getting better as time goes on. More time I get doing it. Always got to start somewhere. Absolutely. I'm glad this is turning out the way I'd like it to, though. That's good. Where's my hammer? Might need a little bit bigger hammer for that one. Buddy. Oh. Well, that ain't gonna do. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Relax. I want something more like a chisel. I'll say it now, this is one of the only things I was afraid of. Try not to chew up our material too much, but just keep working it. All right, hold on, we might be here for a minute. I'm gonna have you back up a smidge. I want you to see all the action, but I need some fighting room. Ah! How did you do that? If you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough. Not fun. That little spot right there, we don't worry about that. Okay, so did a little bit more grinding to get these smooth anyway, because I'm gonna have to weld to the tops of these. But did a little fiddling. This was our problem one before, but we're good to go. Like I said, we'll clean everything up before we're done, but realistically at this point we're going to keep moving on. I'm going to weld those caster plates on at this point, the mounting plates, and we'll go from there. Okay, let's tack them on. I'm gonna tack them on this side, like a toot-toot on all four. And then I'll flip this over And on both seams here, running parallel with the square tube on each side, we'll run a bead. Okay, so real quick, wanted to show that what you'll probably be seeing the majority of the video is my poor welding skill, which is fine. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and yes, as anybody would be, I'm also embarrassed with how it looks, but I will show you that it is getting better with time, and this is just the first pass. Also keep in mind, I'm using a flux core welder. It's never going to be beautiful, but this is coming together much better than I thought it would. It's the first initial pass. I'll do another one and kind of seal this up. Make sure we have a good weld joint, but I'll be happy with that, knowing that that's gonna hold. All right, let's throw these casters on, because I really want some motivation to finish this as soon as possible, and I know that if I get 4 wheels on the ground, that'll make me feel real good. All right, I'll be honest with you, the alignment on this one, we could have done better, but I think we'll be fine. What kind of tomfoolery is this? Nice. Tell you what, I am at least somewhat impressed. Holy cow. I really think this is gonna work. And I'm so excited about it. All right, let's flip this over, put it on the ground. Let's go to town. All right, flip this bad boy over. See it rolly wheelie a little bit. Well, if nothing else, I made myself a nice little scooter. Heck yeah, dude. Well, I hate to do this to you, but with me still, with me still operating as a very, very beginner welder, I don't even call me that. Couldn't call me a fabricator either. Cobble specialist. It takes a lot longer than anticipated to put this stuff together to make it work as intended. So part 2 of the engine run test stand forthcoming. The next bit that we would get done would be to fabricate on our runners here, which function as they should now, which is great. Would be clean tops of them up, of course, and we're gonna weld a couple of ears here, plus cut some 1x1 square tube to size, weld the ears here, drill a hole through all 3, the 2 pieces of flat stock and the square tube, to have a functioning pivot here, a joint. On the top of the square tube, weld a 5/8 nut with which we can then thread down through the middle, so that we can have adjustable arm coming out of the top, whether or not you thread it in or thread it out. And then on top of the all thread, we will put a small piece of, I think we got like a 3/4 inch round tube. And then we'll be able to put our motor mount bolts through that and secure these, secure the engine to our runners, bolt everything down tight, and then we have a nice level platform to use as well. Past that, we'd have to weld up some 1x1 square tube in the back for the mounting plate for the bell housing, as well as in the front we need to weld up like an H-frame for a radiator support, and then that we can attach our fan to, and then I'm going to put our gauges on that H-frame somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where or how I want to mount it, but it's a typical engine run test stand build. So I hope you've enjoyed so far. Please stick around, watch the next part of it for me. Apologies in advance for the 2 parts. I usually don't like to do that, but considering the circumstance, it's an extensive project for me and it's new for me, so it takes me a little while. But I appreciate you sticking with me. If you've enjoyed so far, please share the channel, give it a like. Word of mouth helps more than you can imagine. And I appreciate you for taking the time to watch and hang out with me in the shed. As always, take care of yourself.